I definitely believe that, again, like we're all psychic, and what happens is that we can have different senses that are stronger than others. But we're so used to it our whole lives that we don't notice that it's different, that it's happening. Also, there can be that doubt of, oh no, nothing beyond normal is happening to me, or this fear of, well, I don't want to like go into that kind of thing. Or I don't know what I'll discover.
I'm here with this absolutely beautiful queen, the girl I have had the honor to meet in Bali, Heather Ballish. She is a lifelong, can I say lifelong psychic who has the most amazing ability to intuit and download messages to help serve people, help them connect with the unseen realms, and to find guidance in their life to help them along their path. So thank you so much for being with me here today. As always, our podcast is centering around coming back to a divine remembrance of our true power, which is our divine nature, and what that means for us in our lives as well. I believe that as we come back to our true essence, we gain so much more confidence in our ability to manifest and create our dream reality, and also just to feel very fulfilled in general in our lives and to enjoy life more. So today we will be talking about how we can use psychic gifts and intuition to be able to connect with this essence that is within all of us. So thank you again for being here and sharing your wisdom.
Of course. I'm very excited to be here. Big fan of you, Jane. Big fan of the podcast, of the intentions, everything you create. So very excited to be here in your space.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
One thing that I really wanted to talk to you about today is about your connection with the unseen. Because I feel as a psychic, you almost have a little bit of like a cheat code in life that you can see things and receive messages that not everyone feels they have access to. So how has this shaped your view of the world and how you navigate life, and particularly has this given you an ability to manifest in a way that maybe others do not have the ability to do?
Wow. All wonderful questions. Yeah, I consider myself clairvoyant. I can also channel and download messages. So it's kind of a mixture of things. And it's definitely shaped my life so much. I have always been psychic, but I didn't always consider myself psychic. There was a lot of fear and self-doubt for a long time. And so it's really interesting to be able to observe my reality then versus now, being so open to it, really trying to work with it and explore and understand and allow it more and more into my life. So it's really interesting to be able to have those two perspectives to like compare.
Yeah.
And it's definitely shaped my life so, so much. But I feel like it's just brought me more back to myself. Like it's just brought me even more into my truth, even more into my authenticity, because I think that I personally believe that we're all psychic. We all have these abilities. We're all divine, right? And there's so many different types of psychic abilities, and some are more tuned in to some senses than others, and some are more tuned into the other ones, and we can also shift and develop them throughout our lives. And so it's such an interesting experience when I hold workshops and classes and teach other people about these things or have these kind of wonderful conversations with beautiful people like you. It's like I get to watch people go through a similar experience of me, of just being like, wow, I always felt this way. I always knew this, like, that I had this connection, that human and spirit are so connected, or that we're almost even the same. And so it's this deep validation of like your authentic self, of just like all the magic that I thought was around me or hoped and dreamed was around me actually is. And so it kind of like, I don't know, made me like the highest level of like the optimist. Or like the highest level of just gratitude and awe. Like just awe of life, because all the magical things that I always wanted to exist in the world do. And not only do they exist, but like they're here supporting us. They're interacting with us. They're not just like, oh, cool, you're over there, silly human. Like, no, we are divine as well.
Wow.
Being human makes us divine. So it's like how the universe is like this one energetic experience that is all working together to support each other. And so it's really just made me feel so held in life with such a deep trust, like just a full, I mean, I'm still working on full surrender, but pretty close to full surrender. Like I really just know that anything that happens is just I'm being guided. Even if my mind is confused, it's like I know that I'm so guided. I know that we're all so guided.
Wow.
With spirit guides or ancestors or our higher self, or sometimes there's a bunch of wonderful beings that are just coming in and out for a short moment too. And they are so connected. And so it's this deep trust, love, appreciation, gratitude. So yeah, I think it's shaped my life into being the highest optimistic flow being that of my personal version. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. So in reality, you could say that we're never alone, actually.
Yeah.
That we're always surrounded and held and loved.
For sure.
And it's just tapping into that and accessing that
Yeah.
to feel that way. So I guess in moments where you're questioning things in your life, when things feel difficult, if you always know that you're always held and you're always guided, then it can help you like navigate that path a little bit more with ease. How do you feel about this concept though of us always having these beings guiding us? Like, I could imagine, for example, if it's let's just use a family example, like your grandparents. Do they not have better things to do than just to be there whenever you call them?
So great question. I do feel like it's a little bit of both. Like our spirit guides, even our, grandparents, whoever we call in, I've noticed that most of the time they answer, but sometimes they don't. And on a rare occasion they don't. And in that moment, it's very much like, for me, I trust that they do have something that is of more importance. And, maybe importance is a loose word, but for them to be doing. And so something that I talk about with spirit guides is that we have a team with us. And most of the time, there's at least one, if not a couple with us. Sometimes they're all there. But the soul is so complex and wonderful and can do so many things at once that it can kind of be doing multiple things at once, including like, the ancestors, the spirit guides. But also, I like to say it as like our spirit guides have a life too. Like they're not just like just there for us. Like maybe that's their main priority. And so they've committed to being like your primary spirit guide in life. So they're mainly always there. You call, they mainly always answer. But there's still things that they're doing for their own soul in their experience as
That
well.
makes sense. I'm just thinking about maybe it's a similar dynamic to someone that you also have in your life that is supportive of you.
Yeah.
Like they're always there, they're always available to support you when you need it. But of course, they have their own things too.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Kind of similar. But I think too that there's like different types of beings, right? And so the ones that I normally feel like I'm getting support from or that are naturally guiding me, and it feels good when they're guiding me, right, is that the ones that have gone through like the crossing over process. And so once they go through that process, it's like, so like your grandma, for example, she can cross over and she's still your grandma. But in that crossing over process, she did like a life review. So she like saw decision that she made in her life from every person's perspective that it affected. And so they just become these high frequency beings that have really become of love and light, and they've shed all of their karmic experiences. That doesn't mean that they're not going to bring it back in the next life, because they choose to experience and work on that. But when they're in that spirit realm place where they can come and work with us, a lot of them are in this higher frequency state where they can be your grandma, but they're not necessarily like, you know how your grandma in this life, maybe she has her opinions. She's like, this is how I think your life should be. And there can be a hint of that, but it's much more like they see the bigger perspective and they want your highest good. So yeah, it's they're still, yeah, like can be like a normal person, like busy, like there's like, I love you and I'm supportive, but I have things to do. But also there's this kind of wise level to them too, where they're like, I'm still your grandma. I might have, a few things that I feel opinionated about, but for the most part, I'm genuinely surrendering to what you want and what your highest good is. So that's nice.
That's beautiful and good to know as well, because I sometimes question like whether or not we should follow these messages all the time,
Yeah.
just because they come from source.
Yeah.
But it sounds like most of the time they are coming with an intention for you that's very positive, and you still have the free will, you still have the choice.
For sure.
But it's advice and wisdom that you can take and integrate into your life.
Yeah, for sure. And for the spirit guides, they're always there for like your highest good. Ancestors mainly too, but sometimes when I'm calling in ancestors, I'm intentionally saying, I want my high frequency ancestors that are supporting me in my highest good. Because, there's still like, sometimes they have a little bit more karma built up, but they're still mainly wanting your highest good. But sometimes, I'll like talk to my grandma and I'm like, I can still feel my grandma in her. She's like, when are you going to have babies? And I'm like, Grandma Jill. So
It's beautiful as well.
yeah.
Okay, so how do you get your psychic or clairvoyance messages? How did they appear to you?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. So I definitely believe that, again, like we're all psychic. And what happens is that we can have different senses that are stronger than others. But we're so used to it our whole lives that we don't notice that it's different and that it's happening. Also, there can be that doubt of, oh no, nothing beyond normal is happening to me, or this fear of, well, I don't want to like go into that kind of thing. Or I don't know what I'll discover. That's so clairvoyance is actually really interesting, is a great example, because it comes where the third eye is. And so there can be different experiences, but usually what happens is I'm seeing them with my third eye, which can be a very similar experience as like your imagination, which is again why people can go a long time in their life not noticing that it's happening. They're like, oh, I have such an active imagination, like, cool, whatever. But you start to, I teach about this practice of discernment, where you want to start to kind of, as you're opening and trying to tap into what are your abilities, which that can just be a playful question. Like, I'm just going to start to pay attention to my senses more. Which ones feel like they're calling to me? Which ones feel a little bit stronger than others? What have I noticed? Like, do I have a really strong sense of scent? I love candles and oils and, all of these things. And so just trying to like test it and notice it, and then starting to really like, especially if you have a practice in your life of observing your mind, and really getting to know, what does your mind sound like? What are its thoughts, those things. So that is like a particular feeling when you start to be like, oh, I feel like I'm, for example, like with smell, oh, I feel like I'm smelling cigarette smoke. Oh, like that must just be someone around me. Well, also maybe you walked into a place that has an energetic imprint on it that has this, that was connected to like the smell of cigarette smoke.
Wow.
But then maybe you're with literally next to a cigarette smoker and you're smelling it and it's like feeling that sensation.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and for those who don't know, Heather has an amazing workshop called Everyone is Psychic, which I believe is so empowering because it brings this concept of talking to spirit back down to earth. And I love that you use this idea of play and coming or trying to integrate a little bit of this into your life
Yeah.
in a way that is light and playful and doesn't attach expectation or judgment around what's coming up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes we can get these messages, but we can second guess them.
Yeah. For
For
sure.
example, we can say, oh no, that's just my imagination.
Yeah.
Or explain it in a different way through logic
Yeah.
or reasoning.
For sure.
And I think that's one of the things that you highlight in your workshop as well, is to actually pay attention to those and don't try to rationalize them, right? If someone wants to start bringing this into their life more and having more openness in their channels to receiving messages, is this how you would suggest that they start?
It's a little bit of both, because I totally believe that the mind, ration, logic are wonderful tools that are meant to be in existence for our experience. And so, but it's exactly like you're saying, also this balance of play. And I think play kind of introduces, yeah, like you said, the release of expectations. So, for example, if I'm trying to get to know a psychic ability stronger, like I believe that the intuition is an interesting one, because it can be looked at it as its own psychic ability.
Okay.
But I also think that we all have one, and it can also it's like a different category. It can be a psychic ability in the sense of like, how strong is it for you? That can be developed. And also the intuition is its own category, because when you're experiencing your other abilities, it can be like a yes or no for you. Like, is that real? Is it not? Because with clairvoyance, like coming as the same place as my imagination, I really had to learn, okay, what does my imagination feel like? And what does a vision feel like? Or what does a being coming to me feel like? And so those are two distinct physical sensations, but they're so similar that you have to practice. What does that feel like? That's like kind of what I call the practice of discernment. And you can also use the intuition to be like, is this real? And is it giving you a yes or no? And you can also practice getting to know that language of the intuition, that voice. What does that feel like? And so why I bring that up is like, for example, when I was starting to get to know the language of my intuition more, how does it feel to listen to it rather than listen to my mind? I would just, and I still do this all the time. I just play. I'm like, I'm on my scooter and I'm like, do I go left or right? And my intuition's like, right. I'm like, weird. My house is left, but okay. I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to test it. No expectation. And then all of a sudden you end up at a print shop and you're seeing a friend you haven't seen in 3 years and you didn't even know was here. And you're like, wow, what's the world? And just letting it, yeah, just letting it prove itself to you.
Okay.
Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I want this to work, or I'm looking for proof. It's like, just play with it, test it, be skeptical, be doubtful, like, and just put it to the test and let it prove it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So intuition is not exactly the same then as being psychic. As I understood from how you just explained it,
Yeah.
it can be used as like a way to validate the psychic information that we are receiving. Because the intuition is coming from the body, right? And the body sometimes it knows things that we do not know, or the mind doesn't know. So it can be almost used as like a temperature gauge to see, is this psychic information? Is this just an old fear of mine or a trigger that's coming up?
Yeah.
Is this how you use it generally?
Yeah, I think it's a layered experience. I think that sometimes it's hard to put everything into a category, because I know that, like, I love to do that as a human, but we're also talking about things of like our divinity, our spirit self, which is so much more complex than I'll ever understand in this life, I'm sure. And so I think there's a lot of ways to look at it and define it. And there's different people are going to tell you different things, which is wonderful. Everyone's supposed to see and connect and have their own realities. So expressing from like what I feel like I've come to feel is that the intuition is almost like this umbrella. And maybe that's not the best way to put it. It's like, because even like my clairvoyance, it has like a physical sensation to it. And like things can come in a vision in the mind, but also things can come literally right in front of me.
Wow.
And those can have a different physical sensation than the imagination.
Okay.
And then the intuition also has a physical sensation. So it's like I spent so much time in my life wanting to escape the physical reality and fall and run away into the spirit realm. But I slowly realized in my life that actually the human body is the doorway into the spirit realm. And so like
Wow.
the physical body works with our spiritual connection. So that's why all these different things can have different physical sensations and you can distinguish between them. I know I'm not fully answering your question, but just a little bit of like a,
I think you've
yeah,
kind of taken it deeper
yeah,
in a way. As you say, we're dealing with the non-material.
yeah,
We cannot always define this easily and put it in a box.
yeah,
And I think what you're sharing is that there are many different ways of perceiving these things, and they could even be different
yeah,
for different people. So it is really up to the individual to just approach with a curiosity and ask questions about when something comes up for you. What does that mean? Have you felt that before?
yeah,
Test it out, as you say. So you got to find eventually what works for you.
yeah, 100%. And I think that all of these different abilities, including the intuition and different psychic abilities, they all connect in different ways. Like they all can kind of help each other. And so that's why it's like I can see intuition sometimes as like a category just like clairvoyance or the others.
Okay.
But also it's more complicated than that, almost like a geometric pattern and the abilities are the dots, but there's all these lines that are connecting things in different ways. And so I also think that that's why different people can perceive it differently because maybe they feel a different path stronger than the others.
Okay.
But for me, my intuition, I think, is one of my favorites who work with and get to know because it's one of the easiest to connect with, I think, for most people. But I mean, speaking for myself, for me. And so once you start to kind of play with that, it's the easiest to hear too and listen to. And so once you start to kind of get to know its language, then you can kind of be like, oh, that's what the process of starting to learn the language of my intuition was like. Now let me try that with my other senses. And I also feel like our intuition is almost like a voice of our higher self mixed with like the divinity of the universe. It's like our higher self has this straight connection. So, and I laugh because my intuition usually always wants the opposite that my mind wants, which usually means that I know I'm on the right path then. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. And also sometimes I've learned that it just won't, like, but to continue to trust that. Like I've had intuitive guidance before to like go stay in this place instead of this place. And I go and I follow it and there's a beautiful painting of my spirit animal on the wall and a hanging of like one of the main deities that I feel connected with. And so I get that reassurance, but then beyond that, I really have no idea what was better about this place than that place. I don't know the difference of what happened. And so just like trusting, like I followed it and I might not necessarily get the answer as to why.
It might not always be obvious, right?
Yes.
Because who knows, if you went to that other place, something could have happened,
Yeah.
or who knows?
Yeah.
Like, we cannot necessarily expect to have all the answers now. Sometimes when we look back, things make sense as to why we're at a certain place at a certain time.
Yeah.
I love just this idea of encouraging more people to delve into their psychic abilities. I think one of the things that has held me back a little bit is like the fear of the shadows. Because I know once you start going into this realm, it's not always love and light. You experience many different things, different entities that have both a lighter energy and a darker energy.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if maybe there are other people as well that have kind of taken a step back to avoid going into this darker place, into these shadows. And I'm wondering how you have overcome this in your practice.
Yeah, that's another beautiful question. I think that it's something that held me back from my practice for a long time was fear. And something I've really come to sit with is that the body has a natural fear response to anything new. And so anything unknown. And so sometimes a being that I've never met before has a different energy will come to me. And so I'm like, my instant response is fear. So I've learned to sit with that for a moment and be like, am I afraid? Because they're like it's like, if the being's over there, I'm not going to like throw my energy on it. I'm just going to kind of be like, maybe like here, and I'm like feeling it. I'm like, okay, am I afraid of you? Do I not like the way that feels in my body? What is my body doing? Is my nervous system like, eh? Is my intuition like, no? And then I'm like, okay, I don't like you. I send you away. Or am I like, oh no, you just feel different? Like, and again, the getting stronger with the intuition will help you gauge that. But one of the main things that has helped me move past fear is that it's kind of this layered truth, at least in my reality, that when things are coming into the human plane to visit us, whether it's a high frequency being or a low frequency being, we are kind of the masters of this plane. And so we really have the ability to, like, the power of our intention is literally magic. Like, if you think about casting a spell, you're just saying words and putting your intention into it. And so it's like, we are magical beings. And so if something comes around me and I don't like it, but I have to be strong in my intention, right? It's not like I'm like, oh, I think I want you to leave. It's like, no, just take a moment, decide for yourself. Do you want it to go or not? And then be like, I banish you from now and evermore. You're not allowed to come back and visit me. You're not allowed to connect. You're not allowed to anything like that. And you can literally send anything away that way.
Wow.
With the power of your intention. And so you can see healers too working with like their hands. It's just amplifying their intentions. The sage, different things like this, they are all have their level of magic to them, but it's what it's really doing is it's enhancing your intention, which is already so powerful. And so for me, I try to teach that it's not necessarily that there's nothing to be afraid of, but sometimes that concept helps me because nothing can actually harm me. The worst that something can do is maybe drain my energy for a little bit, but I'm going to feel that. Like, I'm going to start to be like, wow, man, I'm just so tired this week. It's so weird. And you're starting to kind of like, if you hear yourself saying that, then you kind of like feel into it. Do you think that that's yours? Or do you think that something else is maybe doing that?
Okay.
And if you want to just be sure, you can just be like, anything of negative intent gone, like again using your intention. And it's kind of like an ecosystem. Like, I don't like mosquitoes when they bite me, but also they have a purpose in the ecosystem. They're technically the only insect that pollinates chocolate,
Really?
which to me is a great purpose. Okay. But like,
Wow.
the same thing with lower frequency beings. It's an ecosystem. We are a balance of light and dark in this reality. And so, no, I don't want a dark being staying around me too long. But when it does come, I'm not afraid of it because I'm like, you are a part of Mother Nature too. You are a part of this reality. You are meant to be here. You were created for a reason. Sometimes I'll listen to it and I'll be like, what do you want to say to me? And sometimes I'm like, nope, don't have the desire, don't have the energy, don't like your vibe. And I'm like, but I usually will never keep them around too long. And I don't necessarily want to connect. Sometimes I'll keep them at a distance and maybe listen. But yeah, just really also respecting that everything is a life and meant to be. Um, and that, yeah, we can really send anything away and protect ourselves in any moment that we need to. That's what I truly believe. Yeah. Wow.
I love that with these entities, we simply have the power just to banish them. And that, yeah, we can use all these different tools, sage, etc. But as you say, it's coming back to the intention we put behind it. And sometimes, these things can help strengthen that intention.
Right. Yes. 100%. And The last thing I would say about fear too is that when we have a large emotional response, that's actually when lower frequency or darker things can come and like connect with us and attach to us to have some sort of like energetic drain of us.
Wow.
And so when we are in a huge state of fear, we're actually allowing them in. And so I know it sounds counteractive, but to just like really anchor in yourself now the remembrance that you are more powerful than them. They can't do anything. And also, they're not trying to like have a big harm on you, maybe just take some energy because that's their food source. But also that, again, they're just like a mosquito. They have a point in the ecosystem. So if you feel like something comes to you and you feel afraid, also remember that you have the power to do anything. Call in an angel, call in whoever you resonate with. Tell yourself, I am safe, I am safe, I have a bubble of safety and protection around me. Really get yourself into that state where you're like, I am safe, I have the power in this situation, and send them away. So yeah, just that awareness is helpful.
Beautiful. And I love that you mentioned that they are also needed and they also serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Like for me in my life, the things that have accelerated my growth the most have been things that were challenging or difficult or darker, let's say. So, the light, it cannot exist without the dark.
Yeah.
Do you agree? I feel that
100%.
maybe when these things come to you, they're actually coming to you with a message. It could be, right? That they are coming to actually communicate something to you, even though you may not like the delivery.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. I think that there are realms that are more just of light, are realms that are more just of dark, but we're existing somewhere in between. So our realm needs both. And 100%, I learn more from challenges than from gifts. And I don't necessarily want to continue to manifest that reality, but it's also just shut itself true. And yeah, like a lot of lower frequency beings too, there is 100% an exchange happening where it could have even been something that before your soul came into this life, you made a contract with them or you decided like, oh, I want your help in understanding depression. And so they come in and they're pulling your energy and they're putting you into that state of depression for a long time. And it's like, say like birth is like us waiting at a bus stop and all the souls are out there waiting at the bus stop to go and reincarnate. And you're like, hey, I really want to learn this like really difficult lesson. Does anybody want to help me? And then like something raises its hand. Like it's also an experience for it. It's also doing you a service. And so it's an interesting way to think about it. But yeah, that's what I heard.
I believe that for sure. So, do you think that these kind of spirits can present themselves through people to us in our regular life?
That's a great question. Yes, in a way, especially like what can I feel like can happen is that, and it's both light and dark. Any sort of beings can be really connected with a person and can either speak through them or be causing them to do certain things. Um, but again, that kind of takes a really long time. Like you would need to be with a darker being for years, if not decades, in order to like really start to get to the place where you're acting from its intentions. Um, okay. But also the same thing with light beings, it's like the person can be working with light beings for a long time and then it's just like you feel it. They're like bringing that energy into the human reality. They're acting as like a doorway or a channel for it. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So, isn't everything spirits? Like, what is it? What is the difference for you between spiritual guidance versus our reality? Like, what is real? What is not?
Yeah. It's a great question. Um, Yeah, let me sit with that for just a second. It's a big question, but now I love it. I mean, this asked me something similar last night.
Wow.
What is the difference between? So I personally feel like I believe in like the oneness theory of like we're all one, we are all God, we're all God experiencing itself. Yeah, including the darkness, all of the equal experience. And so I believe that this is like almost existing inside God, but it also is like almost like God created a playground and it's like, let's have these rules and free will and these things and let's break off parts of myself to experience itself. And because I think that, you know, we raise our consciousness through experiences, which is an interesting concept because does God need to raise his consciousness? You know, that's
Another topic.
it's another topic, but
We could do another session on this. So we just brainstorm.
yeah. But I think more in the direction of working in a day-to-day experience with your question is that the universe, God, however you want to look at that and call it, your higher self, your guides, they are speaking to you in every single moment of reality. In the way this incense is burning, and the sounds around us, and the music that comes on, in the way you stub your toe, like every experience you have is a conversation. And that like we are constantly existing in that divine reality. And so, but we get free will. We get to decide if we want to look at that conversation or if we don't. We get to decide if our mind wants to resist that conversation because we don't understand why things are going that way. So we're going to try to force it in this way, or we get to decide if we want to be a part of that conversation and listen and try to be guided. Knowing that something beyond ourselves that probably knows more about what our soul came here to do than we have remembrance of is trying to help us and guide us. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
It does. So every experience that we had, we can take it just at face value, or we can go deeper and understand why and what are we learning and taking from this.
Exactly.
So in reality, everything around us is spirit, everything is communicating with us. We just have the choice whether or not to listen.
Yeah.
And eventually, if we don't, I guess those messages that will keep repeating in different ways.
Yeah.
They're in different forms.
Oh, yeah. I have ever been in the same relationship again and again, and you're like, why? But also, there's no right or wrong way to exist. That's the fun of this experience. We get to make our choice, and I'm human. Sometimes I'm like, no, I want it this way. And I try to force myself that way, even though I know everything's a conversation. And so, no need to, like, I've learned to try not to shame myself or feel guilty. Just make it an invitation that there is divine experience around me trying to help me. And I'm allowed to lean on that and be helped. I'm allowed to receive that help, and I'm worthy of that. And also, if I want to be like, no, I want to do my own thing for a while, cool, let's experience what that feels
Also
like.
part of the experience.
Yeah.
Nothing is right or wrong. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I have enjoyed this conversation so much. I think it's so beautiful, and I really, really just love the way you take these concepts that can seem a little bit like foreign or out there and bring it to everyone to help them open up their senses and experience a little bit more of the world in the way that you do. So thank you. And before we go, I wanted to ask you if you would be open just to channeling a message for our beautiful viewers here as to whatever advice or wisdom or just any message that feels that it would like to come through today for our beautiful people who are listening.
Yeah, I would be happy to. It's super beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And my process for that is I might just take a moment to be silent, and I'll try to tap into the energy field of the audience and like in you and what you're creating here. I never know what I'm going to end up channeling, but usually I get an idea first. So I'll communicate what I'm channeling and then I'll let it come through.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Very interesting. Not a being that I've seen before, really. It kind of looks like maybe the best way to describe it is kind of like a dragon, which is interesting. I've been connecting with dragons a lot lately, but a type of spirit that it feels different than the dragons I've been connecting with. It feels like it has its own, like, really wise mind things to say. It's a being of the heart. Like, it's really much a heartfelt being. It feels really connected to, yeah, just the energy of the heart of love. And it was funny, right? When I started to feel into it and look into it, I like saw him over there and I was like, but you're a really unique looking being. Maybe that would be too out there for this experience. And so I tried to sit a little bit longer and I was like, nope, he's the only one that's coming. He was okay. I won't resist. I'll allow. So I asked, like, would he be willing to come through? He said yes. So just to kind of explain, and then I'll kind of surrender, allow him to come through, and then he'll start speaking through me. And I just feel into that. We'll see what he has to say. He wants to come in with like power. Like, real, like, need to surrender my mind from judging myself. Just allow. Love. Everything is love. And be judging myself and then stopping it. So for me to just surrender some more. Everything is love, you beautiful people. You need to realize this. It's all right in front of you. It's all right in front of you. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to do. Forget all of this, the nonsense, the worries, the stress. None of it is real. The only thing you need, my friends, is love. And when I say you need, just a concept, it's here. It's all with you always. Love is an energy form that you can call in at any moment. You can fill yourself with. Call it in and bring it into your body right now in this moment. But you also have to open. Open and allow yourself in. It wants to come in. It wants to be one with your body. Receive it. You are worthy of the love of the universe, of everything that is divine around you. You are worthy of this, my friend. So stop telling yourself you're not. That's silly nonsense. You are love. You are allowed to receive this. Be supported. Be helped. We're excited. We're so excited to help you. We're so excited to be with you. Let us love you. You are loving us by just allowing, letting us love you. Thank you. Thank you.
What a beautiful message.
Once I like stop judging myself and start to like allow it to come through, then finally I'm like, okay, now I'm used to this, because everything's a different physical sensation, and it also like almost attunes my body in a different to their energy.
Wow.
Which
It
sometimes
sounds powerful.
sometimes it's too much. I'm like,
Energy.
I can't let you in. Like, I can't hold your energy. Sometimes I have to stand up and I'm like, the fall. Like trying to keep trying to allow the energy into my body. But yeah.
I find it so interesting as well that one of the cameras, fortunately we have the other one, but it switched off, and maybe it was a very powerful energy that it was just like, yeah, wild. So I will turn it back on and we'll continue. Good, thank you. That was very beautiful and powerful, and just a very lovely reminder I think we can always use. Remember to open ourselves to experience that fully, that it is always available to us if we choose to tap in. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I love the energy. Kiss dragon spirit. Yeah. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to share here, where can people find more about you and your offerings? I know that you offer workshops, you offer psychic readings, you do so many things. You're an amazing creative goddess. Thank you. So if you could just share a little bit more about how people can learn more.
You can find everything at my website, which is just my name, heatherballish.com. And it's just spelled like ball, BALLISH, ballish. So you can find the readings, the workshops, more different, content and things like that all there. So
Okay, fabulous. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. with us and your heart, and I really appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for trusting me to come on and channel and share and all the things. And so it's been an honor. And I'm just, again, like I said, a big fan of everything you create. So beautiful. Honored to be here.